But when you talk about destruction, don't you know that you can count me out?
Hey everyone, this is Lawrence with Vote for Peace, and this is part 3 of our series entitled You Say You Want a Revolution. Now in part 2 of the series, we did a video where I mentioned this book about the Rothschilds. And I only mentioned them because I wanted to point out that I understand the New World Order, and this is the family behind the New World Order. They're the global elitists. They live in countries like Belgium and the Netherlands. They also have a U.S. branch. And I think it was kind of interesting that 2 days after I did that video where I mentioned them, the U.S. family, the branch of the family in the U.S. in New York, went ahead and came out and endorsed John McCain, which I thought was interesting because originally they had been big supporters of Hillary Clinton. So they've switched sides, and it kind of demonstrates that, where the global elite have their allegiances and where they're putting all their baskets. And mark my words, they're not hedging their bets. They're not going half for Obama, half for McCain. They're 100% behind John McCain. Now, Vote for Peace does not organize any endorsement or opposition to any candidate. What we're trying to do is really raise awareness about the lack of participation in this country. We have over half the people in the United States do not vote, and we have a system that's set up according to the Constitution for us to be self-governing. So we have a real problem when half the people are not participating. How can you be self-governing? So first we have to make the case, we have to make the point that the non-voters are truly the majority. If you look at a pie chart of all Americans, this is the slice that votes Democrat, and this is the slice that votes Republican, and here's the whole slice of the pie that doesn't vote at all. And so we have to first make the case that, number one, is that non-voters are the majority, and they're just sitting there. They're the silent majority. They're not doing anything. So that's a vast amount of power that we potentially have that's going to waste, and basically self-governing is going out the window because of them. It's not going out the window because the politicians are doing anything. It's because those people are not participating. That's why self-governing is going out the window. Now, the second thing we have to do is make the case why people don't participate, because there are all these other voter advocate groups out there that say, like Why Tuesday says that we don't vote because Tuesday's the wrong day. What they're basically saying is that we would vote, all those people would vote, all these non-voters here would vote if the election were held any day except Tuesday. Well, that is just wrong. We have to point out that the fact is most non-voters make an intellectual decision not to vote, and they are rejecting the whole system in many cases. Now, the problem is if you reject the whole system and you just sit there and talk about revolution, you're really, really, really being counterproductive. And I hate to see people look that stupid. When they send me a comment, they're saying stuff like, well, we need to storm Washington, and we need to stop voting, and really, take up guns and all this stuff. And I'm thinking, well, if revolution was really right around the corner, you probably wouldn't have the luxury of being able to sit there on a laptop computer in the luxury of a home with running water and electricity. If a revolution was really right around the corner, things would look a lot different, and we wouldn't have the ability to sit there and talk about speculation and conjecture about elections being canceled and all this stuff. And one final point I want to make is I want to put a challenge out there to all the people who are talking about the election being canceled. I have heard it all before. I heard it so much 4 years ago that I finally started challenging people to a bet, and I'm going to do the same this year. The only thing is the stakes of the bet are going to go up $4, because in 2004 I was telling people, okay, if you say that the election is going to be canceled by the Bush administration, that's fine. Put your money where your mouth is and make a bet of $2,004 that this will happen. So here I'm going to put a bet out, a challenge out to anybody who thinks and wants to talk about the election being canceled. I will bet you $2,008 that there will be a national election for all 435 U.S. House of Representatives seats and a third of the Senate, as well as a national election for President of the United States, and that election will be held on November 4th, 2008. If you believe otherwise, contact me and we'll make arrangements for a bet to be made for $2,008. Put your money where your mouth is, or else stop talking about this BS about the election being canceled. So hopefully I'll get some people who will be takers and will take me up on this bet, and I can make a little money while we're facing such an economic crisis. But really what I'd rather do is have people just wake up and realize that by sitting around talking about revolution, you're being completely counterproductive, because we need people going out doing things instead of sitting in the luxury of their home with air conditioning or heat or whatever and talking about a violent revolution that's not going to happen. I'll tell you what, the real revolution will happen when all of these non-voters, the vast majority, when they start going to the polls and voting for people like Dennis Kucinich or Ron Paul, and when they start voting against people that the New World Order wants them to vote for, then that is when the real revolution will occur, and that's when things will change. Otherwise, as long as most of those people do not participate, nothing, and I repeat, nothing is ever going to change in Washington. Thank you very much for tuning in to Vote for Peace. And people, once again, I will say it, please, wake up.